Hello there. So in this video, I want to talk about our purpose. I want to talk about what it means to connect to your purpose, what it means to connect to that, unique part of yourself, that part of you that's unique to only you, and how to live your purpose on the planet. And I'm going to kind of talk about the key, I think, the key to living your purpose on the planet. My name is Jay Eaker, and I'm here at the BioSoul Integration Center, and that's the name of my channel as well here. And my job, whether in my office, whether online, whether through this channel, is to help integrate your soul's essence and your soul's gifts into your body so that you can embody your soul's gifts and your soul's essence so that you can share that on the planet and serve other people with your gifts. So if that resonates with you, please like this video. Please share it with people who you think might be interested, or share it on social media. Please subscribe to my channel. Okay, so this kind of subject of being, talking about your purpose, living your purpose on the planet, is kind of near and dear subject to my heart. I think, whenever the biggest prayer that I always had to God was, God, I just want to live my purpose. I just want to do the thing that I was put here to do. And, I don't think it's any coincidence that I kind of ran into this kind of work. I ran into this network chiropractic thing, and in my experience, network chiropractic, the work that I do, it's, my version of it anyway, that's one of the things that it does. It kind of, it shoves your purpose to the surface. It connects you with the part of you that will create some gravity, create your purpose, kind of becomes a tractor beam, if you will. And it's certainly been my experience in my life, and certainly I've seen that over and over and over again with the thousands of people that I've worked with for the last 20 years. And if I had to say what is the key to sort of the key to finding your purpose and living your purpose on the planet, I'd have to say the key to that is passion. It's what lights you up. It's that feeling of the calling, if you will. It's this feeling like, what feels true and right to me? And that's easier said than done. Connecting with that is easier said than done, because we have to feel it. We have to feel that energy in our bodies. We have to have a felt sense of it. A felt sense of that emotion, if you will. And I've always said that emotion is our soul's way of saying, it's what our soul uses to tell us which way to go. What lights you up. That's your soul saying, come over here, come this way, come this way. And, if we don't have that anchor, if we're not connected to that and don't have that as an anchor, it's easy to sort of get drawn off by ideas of what your parents think you should be, or what your culture thinks you should be, or what your religion thinks you should, a religion thinks you should be, or from watching TV or whatever, just what the popular culture thinks you should be. And when that's the case, we might find ourselves stuck in life. We might find ourselves lost, without any direction. We can get sort of wedge ourselves up in a cul-de-sac in life, like, oh yeah, I went up into the cul-de-sac of this relationship, and I realized that was not it. And we kind of back ourselves out of that and then keep moving forward. Or a career or what have you. We kind of like work ourselves up into a cul-de-sac, and then sort of like we have to back out. Nope, that wasn't quite right. And if you're connected, if you have a felt sense of what lights you up, passion, the calling that I'm talking about, you can kind of navigate through the streets. You're like, oh, not that. No, it's not over there. Not on that dead end street. Not on this dead end street. Keep going through there. And so there's many ways that we sort of get disconnected from that sense, from that felt sense in our lives. And the one major way that starts from the beginning, which is something that I talk about mostly, I think, in every one of my videos, is, you know, when we're 2 to 4 months after we are conceived, there's a certain part of our nervous system develops, and that part of our nervous system is just feeling into our environment. It's feeling into the energetic milieu of our environment, and it's gathering information about how to do this human thing just by feeling into the environment. And of course, we feel into our parents, we feel into the larger culture, and we adopt the ways of being that we feel, you know. So like, what's our parents' relationship with their passion, with being able to sort of trust the part of them that knows what feels true and right, the part of them that knows, like, yeah, this is what I'm here for, and this is the direction I'm going. What's their relationship with that? You know, some may have a greater relationship with that, but certainly there are ways in which they you know, are not so attuned to that because they picked it up from their grandparents, and so on and so forth. So it's really no one's fault, but nonetheless, so there's quite a bit of inertia there, because it goes back probably a long ways into our culture and into our lineage. But then we adopt those things. And there's a video that I'll put a link to it. Is it up here? Or is it up here? Anyway, I'll put a link to it that I talked about. It's up here. Where there are different themes, you know, as we adopt these patterns, as we adopt these survival patterns, there's different ways that shows up in different parts of our spine, because our spine is kind of the conduit of consciousness. And so it's like we're paying attention to how it's like a musical instrument. We're paying attention to how our parents kind of tuned their musical instrument. Did they put pressure on this part of the string, or this part of the string down here to make a certain note, to fit in with what the way their parents had tuned themselves? So it's kind of like that. We put pressure, we put tension along certain parts of our spine in order to kind of tune ourselves, to shut because each part of our body kind of houses a different aspect of our being, and so we're kind of modulating certain parts, and certain parts are okay and certain parts aren't okay, and we keep certain parts separate, kind of like tuning an instrument. And so one of that's kind of apropos to this subject is that we hold tension, is this place here at our lower neck, kind of between our heart and our throat. And I think it has, in my experience, if we're open there and connected there, then we get connected with a part of us that knows what feels true and right. We have the ability to sort of draw healthy boundaries and say, this is me, and this is what feels right to me, and this is the direction I'm going. It's like between our heart and our throat, we're able to sort of like express in all the different ways that we need to express, whether it's just through the voice or just through the way that we're being, or through our actions. We're able to express our heart, express what's truest, what's the most true thing in our being, and often that part of us is sort of the tension pattern there is often tied into defense pattern that we adopt in the belly. The low back in the belly is all about safety and vulnerability. And if we're okay there, we have a strong sense of trust on every level. But what happens is that the belly always gets tied in with this. And so together, it's kind of like we don't trust the part of us that knows what feels true and right. We don't trust what we feel compelled in our essence to express. We don't trust that. And so, the belly, it's kind of like all about, it's where kids play from, Kids are relaxed there generally, more than we are anyway, and they play from that place. They trust moment to moment, and they don't need to know what's going to happen or understand or control what's going to happen from moment to moment, and they just play. And I'm amazed at watching my daughter, like sometimes the joy that sort of exudes that she's expressing in a moment to moment basis is just amazing, And there are, few moments in my adult life where I feel like I've sort of been able to sort of connect with that level, of unbridled joy. And I think it's this sort of relationship that hasn't quite developed there yet, because at some point we kind of feel like we need to push away childish things. We need to get a job, and we need to start heaping on responsibility, and so many of us are. And we take on roles in life. This is a big part to do with it. We take on roles that are not really us, that come from our parents or come from the culture, and are not really an expression of our soul's essence and our soul's gifts. So there's a lot of us that are sort of stressed out and saddled with responsibility and stress, and just not having a lot of fun. And we're trying to control our experience. We're gripping in the belly, and we're trying to control our experience. We're not trusting that life has our highest good in mind, and we think that we have to control it and make it look like it's supposed to look. The truth is you can't really mess it up, as I've talked about in other videos. And I would equate this sort of being able to connect to your passion, connect to what feels right, connect to your calling. If you're living out your purpose on the planet, there's a way in which it's going to be on some level effortless, and it's going to be fun. And there's going to be a lot more joy involved, and I would equate that to this sort of adult version of play. We can still play, and again, there's just a way in which, certainly in my life, as I, kind of maybe conditioning kind of comes from my religious background, I think. This idea that, you had to toe a certain line, and if you didn't toe that line just perfectly, that you were going to find yourself outside the realm of God's love, basically. And so I was always on some level afraid that, if I went am I going this way or this direction? I don't want to do it wrong, because I'm going to be outside, so I got to try to make everything perfect so that I don't, find myself outside of God's love. And so as that started to, in my adult life, as I started to kind of play that out in my adult life, I just feel like life was less and less and less fun. And there was a certain point in my healing journey, I think a big healing, as I started to sort of soften in these areas that I was sort of gripping and trying to control life. And I realized, I can't really mess it up. I can try this. I'm drawn to this. I'm drawn in this direction. Let me try that. It's fun. I don't have to understand, or it doesn't have to make sense through the old lens why I want to go in that direction or why that appeals to me. Just try it, And so I feel like at some point I kind of was able to not, be as hard on myself and let myself play, the adult version of play. And that kind of, has bleeded into my work. Like, for instance, I feel compelled to sort of do online stuff, like online marketing. And I feel compelled to make these videos, and I get a kick out of sort of setting up the camera and putting it up on. I get a kick. I'm a narcissist, I guess, but I like to see myself on YouTube. I set up a podcast, and I just create all the stuff for it. And for whatever reason, I get a kick out of that, and it's fun. And I gotta think that that's gonna lead to something. But even if it doesn't, I'm having fun, and I'm living in that, fun place. So, yeah, I think it's sort of this sort of feeling of what lights you up. I certainly had pushed it away and was not as tuned into it, in the earlier parts of my life. And so, yeah, I think it kind of shows up in different places in people's lives. It might show up in their hobbies, or, often it shows up in the things that they're doing outside of work. But there's some of us who, can turn those passions into actually our work, which is a great thing, and something that I would kind of wish for everyone if they can get there. I think if you keep paying attention to what lights you up, keep going towards that, I think it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you like to, you feel compelled to spend more and more time going in the direction of what lights you up. And sometimes that can, end up as, people's work. So there are other things, so I kind of mentioned there that how do we get disconnected from this felt sense of, what feels true and right, or this felt sense of passion, this felt sense of this calling. And that's what I just mentioned, that we just sort of entrain to the rhythms around. I think that's the biggest thing. And the kind of focus of the work that I'm doing, which is to create a different environment and then entrain to an environment that's connecting us to what's working, to connecting us to our soul's gifts and our soul's essence. The other things, of course, though, on another level, are just diet. If you're, our bodies are amazing machines, and they are taking what we eat and turning it into us. And if you can get as close to, feeding your body really good fuel, lots of living food, lots of greens and things like that, then your body's gonna find it has an easier time making a better you. If you're eating Twinkies, your body can still make you out of Twinkies, which is amazing. But, the end product is a little less high quality. And it's gonna, you won't have resources that you need to follow your soul, follow your calling. You'll be more in survival mode. Sleep is an important factor. Get lots of sleep. And something that feels important is like medications. Everyone's got to make their own choices about how to navigate their lives, but things like antidepressants and medications for sleep and medications for ADHD and all these things, they're mind-altering drugs. In the case of antidepressants, for instance, they put a limit on what we can feel on the low end of emotion, but since emotion exists on a continuum, it also puts a limit. It just limits the emotional range, and so it also limits what we can feel on the end of joy and passion. So it tends to limit the emotions that we would feel that we need in relationship to our soul's calling, passion and things on that end of the spectrum. And so, just something to think about. And then people also self-medicate themselves, of course. Alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, they're all mind-altering substances on some level and sort of numb us. And, God forbid I say anything bad about marijuana, but I have some personal experience with that. Actually, a lot of experience in my past with that, and seeing how marijuana and alcohol had sort of numbed me and just sort of pinched me off from being able to connect with a certain part of myself that would allow me to sort of manifest myself in the world. And certainly I've experienced with my clients with those substances that there's a certain point where we're going to need to sort of gather up resources to gather up the oomph to sort of claim new things for ourselves. And often alcohol and cigarettes and marijuana is going to create a situation in our body and our being where we can't do that. And so, again, just something to think about. So what can you do to sort of bring this sensation of the calling, of your soul's passion, of what lights you up to the surface? Because again, it's not sort of obvious for most people, because for most of us, we've sort of conditioned ourselves not to pay attention to it. So what was the turning point in my life was from a book that I read by Eckhart Tolle called A New Earth. And in that book, he said one simple thing. He said that the thing to do is to commit to having at least part of your attention resting on the sensations in your body at all times. If you're having your attention resting on the sensations in your body, you're connected to your energy body, your emotional body, you're connected to the river of chi, you're connected to the force that animates you and everything else. And you're connected to your soul, your soul's essence, and your soul's gifts. You're sort of creating an uplink to your soul, basically. And just like anything, if you hold your attention steady enough for long enough on a thing like that, we will entrain to that. That will start to, that become the dominant pattern generator in our lives. That will draw us more and more and more into, it'll change us more and more in that direction. So that would be my advice. And like I said, sort of a big turning point in my life in drawing me towards and amplifying this flavor of what feels right, what's my calling, what lights me up, and trusting that and going towards that. So to recap a little bit here at the end, just pay attention to what lights you up. That's always on some level, the solution. Again, it's kind of often found in things that people are doing outside of work, in your hobbies, etc. And I would say search that out, what lights you up, and then double down on that. Do more of those things. And if you're not doing any of that, focus on exploring that. What is it that lights me up? Where do I have that feeling that, oh, this excites me, this lights me up? And then double down on that. Commit to sort of like doing at least one thing that sort of lights you up, that creates that feeling in you every day, whether it's a hobby or whatever it is. And just commit to doing that. And after a while, you sort of get a feeling like, I must, like this is important, like I must do this. It's like feeding me on some level. And the more you pay attention to that, the more you're sort of drawn to your purpose, the more you're drawn to expressing your gifts and living your life and doing the things in life that are connected to your purpose. Donald Epstein, the founder of Network Chiropractic and Network Care, he said that if you're not living your purpose on the planet, it's supposed to hurt, and like nothing is supposed to take that pain away. So there's definitely a way in which, if life, like I said, life is always nudging us in this direction anyway. Life is nudging us towards connecting with our soul's gifts and our soul's essence and living out our purpose on the planet. And often pain is kind of a little, it's a course changer. It says, hey, change direction here. There you go. Now, pay attention to that thing that lights you up. And I feel like, you owe it to yourself first and foremost to do that. We owe it to everyone who loves us, and we owe it to the people who would be eventually served by us giving our gifts as we're living our purpose on the planet. Okay, so I hope you like this. If you resonate with this, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to helping you express more life. Have a great day.